Currently, somewhere in the Pacific Ocean, a cargo ship is moving through international waters. It looks completely ordinary. It is carrying consumer goods, flying a commercial flag, crewed by civilian sailors. But somewhere in its manifest, its route, or its ownership structure, it is also serving the United States military. Not as a warship, not with guns on deck, but as infrastructure, as leverage, as a weapon the Pentagon does not have to fire to use. Most people think of military power in terms of aircraft carriers and fighter jets. But the United States has quietly maintained a second navy for decades, one that wears no uniform. It is called the Maritime Security Program. At its core is a simple, almost ruthless idea. The US government pays commercial shipping companies a stipend, around $60 million a year, to keep American-flagged vessels available for military activation in the event of a national emergency. In exchange, those ships can be called up, taken off their commercial routes, and pressed into service moving troops, vehicles, ammunition, and fuel anywhere on Earth within days. This is not a new idea. During the Gulf War in 1991, over 90% of all military equipment deployed to the theater moved by sea, not by air. Cargo ships quietly won that war before a single bullet was fired. But the Maritime Security Program is just the surface layer. The deeper strategy is more subtle and far more unsettling. The US military has spent decades embedding itself into the architecture of global commercial shipping, not just by owning ships or leasing containers, but by shaping the entire logistics ecosystem in ways that give it strategic leverage without ever making the news. Consider the role of American private equity and defense-adjacent capital in port terminal acquisitions. When DP World, the Dubai state-owned operator, attempted to take over operations at 6 major American ports in 2006, Congress erupted. The deal collapsed within weeks. The reason was not just political optics. American ports, particularly those with military cargo agreements, are considered critical defense infrastructure. Who controls the terminal controls the throughput, and in a conflict scenario, throughput is everything. Here is how the machine actually functions. The United States maintains a fleet of roughly 60 vessels under the Maritime Security Program at any given time. These ships operate commercially in peacetime, running normal freight routes, generating revenue for their owners. But each vessel is contractually obligated to respond to a government activation order within 48 to 72 hours. Once activated, they fall under the authority of the U.S. Transportation Command, known as TRANSCOM, the single entity responsible for moving every soldier, weapon, and supply pallet the American military needs anywhere on the planet. Alongside this, the U.S. Military Sealift Command operates its own fleet of government-owned cargo ships, pre-positioned in the Indian Ocean, the Mediterranean, and the Western Pacific, loaded and ready. These ships are not waiting to be loaded. They are already loaded. They sit at anchor carrying enough equipment to outfit an entire Marine brigade, waiting for orders that may never come, but ready if they do. But the most powerful use of commercial shipping as a military tool isn't about moving cargo. It's about controlling who else can move theirs. The United States and its allies have spent decades quietly mapping every maritime choke point on Earth. The Strait of Hormuz, the Strait of Malacca, the Bab el-Mandeb. These narrow corridors handle a combined total of trillions of dollars in annual trade. In a conflict scenario, the ability to monitor, slow, or interdict commercial traffic through these corridors is an extraordinary form of economic coercion. It doesn't require a missile. It requires a navy positioned at the right coordinates and the legal architecture to justify the presence. Commercial shipping data, the same AIS tracking systems used by commodity traders and hedge funds, is also used by Transcom and allied intelligence services to model global supply chain vulnerability in real time. The ocean isn't just a highway, it's a chessboard. The next major conflict between great powers will not begin with a declaration of war. It will begin with a container ship quietly changing course in the middle of the night, with a port concession suddenly revoked, with an insurance firm announcing that vessels can no longer be covered if they pass through a certain strait. No missiles, no speeches, just logistics shifting in silence. The United States military understood this decades ago. Power was never only about tanks, aircraft, or warships. It was also about the invisible plumbing of global commerce, ports, shipping lanes, insurance markets, satellite tracking, and the rules that keep cargo moving. In the modern world, trade routes are strategic terrain, and the cargo ship on the horizon is not always just carrying freight. It might be carrying the opening move of the next war.